I would like to call the Board of Education study session meeting to order. It is March 10th, 2026, and it is 5:30 p.m.
Beers?
Yes.
King?
Here.
Lynch? Here. McHugh?
Here.
North?
Here. Entertain a motion to approve agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Beers?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Lynch? Yes. McHugh?
Yes.
North?
Yes.
Any public comment today?
No.
Too pretty to be hanging out with us. Okay, so we have reports and updates, long-term service recognition, 10 and 14 years.
So
On to
it's,
you, Wes.
so it's my honor to recognize the folks in our district who have been with us for 10 to 14 years. We have 3 new members of that group. We have Bob Miller, Devin Hunt, and Stephanie Mellon. And we recently recognized the following folks who are still part of that group: Rhea Hanshy, Tina Matthew, Kristen Betts, Patricia Quine, Liz Bogers, Lorraine Schwartz, Paul Steele, Brittany Polly, Brooke Buckley, and Steve Swartz. So let's congratulate them on their years of service.
Woohoo! I mean, that's a long time to be hanging out, right? It's a thing. Thank you. Okay, superintendent updates.
So I have 2 things on my superintendent update. This is a little bit of a rollover from the last board meeting when we talked about polling. So last week, Jen and I met virtually with Bill from WR Communications to discuss potential ballot measures that may be presented to the board and to review what questions should be included in upcoming community polling. So during that conversation, we recommended we gather additional input, both from the Long Range Plan Committee and from you all, Board of Education. And so given the timeline, Bill anticipates that we'll be doing the polling right after spring break, because we're kind of in the short window now before that. So he doesn't want to do it during spring break, so we'll do it right after that. So that's one thing I want to talk about. And the other one is the conferred timeline. I know at the last meeting I misspoke and gave a time to start that process. And so I have the dates on here kind of based loosely off the previously discussed confer. And so I need guidance from you on the timeline that it fits with your schedule. So I've given you from April 1st to the 15th, myself and my team would present the State of the District budget presentation to classified and certified staff at each of the following schools: Carlson Elementary, King Murphy Mountain School, Clear Creek Middle and High School, and the Transportation and Facilities Maintenance Facility folks to kind of give an update of where we are budget-wise. After the presentation, the superintendent's team would answer questions and then gather input via Google form on recommendations for benefits and compensation for the following school year. April 16th, 30th, based on the board's approval, the superintendent team would meet with staff each of the different buildings and to share the board's proposal with consideration of the staff input. So I would share that with you all, and then you guys would discuss and give me recommendations on what we would discuss. And then we would further conversation with them about compensation. And then in May, based on the board's final approval, the superintendent team would present the recommendation to staff at each building. And based on the board's approval and for the following school year, at the Board of Education meeting, and the staff would be provided the opportunity to comment prior to board action. So those are probably proposed timelines, but I want to get your input with that. So we'll start with the first one, which is the ballot measure. I've got Lori over there ready to type down notes. So what things do you think we should ask our voters in our county that we're interested in gathering information on?
If the school district were to ask you for more money, what would be your priorities for that?
Okay,
You know, and I know that's
Leave it
kind of
open-ended.
Yeah.
okay,
But you don't know, like.
Okay.
I mean, for me, ultimately, it's going to be narrowing it down or whittling it down to what does our community think is the priorities. Jessica, speak up whenever you want, of course.
Do we want to say something about, I don't know what the question would be, but about their feelings on teacher compensation and retaining and,
Staff.
yeah, like how do we get that in there?
Or, because a lot of what we're going to be presenting, because of the boxes that we're in, require us to do operational savings through a mill kind of thing that frees up money for the salaries and the teachers. And I don't know how you frame that in a sentence or two.
Yeah.
Right? But I guess that's Paul Guy's job
Right.
to figure that out. But I think that that's an important aspect. Go ahead, Jessica.
Bill absolutely knew how to frame that.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that's really important. Yeah.
Okay, so staff compensation. I think there are some safety and security things that we address,
And
to address in some efficiencies,
Maybe ranking,
okay?
Right.
yeah, your priorities and rank them, safety, compensation, retaining,
Right,
Building
attracting,
maintenance,
building maintenance,
okay,
building efficiencies,
yeah.
those types of things.
okay.
To give you enough to work with?
Anything else? Sydney, anything you want to say?
As you already know, I am not in support of polling right now.
Okay.
I think that, our prioritization needs to be readdressed. And that we need to look at some internal stuff before we can even consider polling.
Thank you.
Anything else, Jessica?
See, I hear what you're saying, Sydney. I think that we have to be looking at funding options, or we can't do some of the other things that you'd like to see improved. So we just, sometimes it's hard, but we just have to pick a path to move forward on.
I think that we choose that option a lot, and at this point, I think we should take a step back. So, how I feel.
I'm just curious, like, what are your ideas for getting more funding?
It's not about the funding, it's about the trust right now that exists in the schools. I think that there is a lack of trust within the community and staff. And I don't think that we can reasonably get community and staff to want to vote for any type of funding unless we are better able to hear them and meaningfully incorporating their feedback into our decision making.
So this is a vehicle to incorporate that feedback into whatever our decision making is. This is exactly what you're saying.
Yes.
What we're doing is exactly what you were asking for.
We've also received a lot of feedback via email, here, in person. And I don't feel confident that we are addressing that feedback proactively to justify voting for bonds.
Is there any way that in your mind that you can separate the two? Because they are separate.
Separate the two when
I mean, all of our feedback has been on union. This is about funding our school district, not just for funding the union. I mean, it's not, they're not congruent.
yeah, and I understand that. And it's not about the union, it's about we're receiving feedback and we're being asked things. And I think it would be reasonable to consider what we're being asked before sending out polling. I don't really find that they're different because I think that the foundation itself is struggling, whether we'd like to believe it or not. That's how I'm kind of seeing things. And the only way to actually fix things is focus on the foundation first. A bond, we're not going to get to a bond unless we fix our foundation.
I don't disagree that there are some, issues out there within the community, but I also know that there is a lot of support for our district and a lot of what we do is supported. But I also think that, just getting back to this effort is a vehicle to collect that consensus so that we can make an informed decision. And I think that that's the right way to go from my perspective.
Well, and my concern, is first and foremost compensation. I don't know how we're able to offer better compensation if we aren't able to do this. And that ties back to the union because that is ultimately what they wanted, why they existed was because they wanted to negotiate pay and benefits and, what can we offer if we don't get more money from we're not getting it from the state, we're losing it from the state, we're losing enrollment, so where else are we gonna get the money from? But I agree with the polling, I think we do the poll and see how it goes and go from there, and I agree, I do think there's distrust. I was one of the distrusting people in the community as a part, so I understand. But
Well, and I need to clarify, I'm not against bond, and I'm not against polling, I'm not against the numbers. I think that the information is helpful. I think that it could be viewed as neutral. And I provided Wes with a lot of suggestions and ideas to try and help address some of the trust things that I think are an issue right now. And I just would like to see more of that framework or some sort of new framework that can help address internal culture before I'm willing to say, go for it. I understand that we're probably not gonna have exactly what we want right now, but we need to build a plan, and I don't see a plan right now.
So my response for you, Sydney, is that everything you're going to start seeing with the school district takes time, lots of time. So if we don't start this action now, when we decide, oh, we're ready, we're going to have to wait a whole other year, a year plus. So that is why I am for moving forward.
And as I attended the superintendent meeting on Friday, a lot of our neighboring districts are going for a ballot measure. And my worry is that will fall further behind in compensating our staff and being competitive against our neighboring districts having higher salaries. So that's my worry.
That's fine, I just wanna see some of that framework come through.
Sure.
Okay, anybody else?
Addresses
Nikki does
some of
have
that, is that right?
My understanding was that representation was not agreeable to meet and confer. Is that
That's new
still the
information
case?
that we don't have.
That
And
union
it's not, I
representation?
mean, is that part of this conversation, or should we move to the next one? Or are we done with polling and you want to move to meet and confer?
Well, yeah, Nikki was just asking.
Is there anything else about the polling?
Anything else about polling that anybody would like to say?
mhm.
And we'll gather
Okay.
more information
Okay.
tomorrow night.
Sounds good.
So next one is input on preferred dates and schedule considerations for the meet and confer meetings with district staff. And I wish Jen was here.
She's online.
She's online, okay.
Okay, good.
So she proposed that she'll be giving a budget update at the beginning of April, is what I believe she said. So that will kind of give you kind of an idea, and that presentation would be something we'd share with the staff to kind of give a sense of where we are as far as budgeting.
May I?
Oh, yeah.
So the way that this is kind of lined out kind of seems like it's pretty great in that you're going to work with us and then you're going to go back out into your world,
Mhm.
have the conversations, gather the feedback, and then you're coming back to us and saying, hey, what about this, this, and this? And we discuss it, and then we go back, you going back out.
Mhm.
Is that a lot for you?
It is, but it's important. I mean,
It is
I think it
important.
was shared with me by the board in that we need to make sure as many voices are heard in this process. And so that's my intent to do that.
As long as the schedule works for you, and as long as we haven't had, a lot of people say, no, the schedule does not work for me. I think we're always gonna get those folks that, have their feet in the mud kind of thing, that we're not moving forward with the union thing, and, that's their decision. They can choose to join us or not join, but, we are offering it to everybody.
And I've also heard additional feedback from some certified, and they're in agreement with us, so.
That's good. Jessica, do you have anything to add?
I'm always looking for most voices. That's always what I'm looking for.
I think the date's sounded.
Yeah, you think so, good.
Is the Google Forms gonna be anonymous or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just feel like we'll
Yeah, we
hear
felt,
a
yeah.
little bit more.
Yeah, I don't want to hinder them being honest with their requests or suggestions. I mean, they're gonna see the data that we have as far as budget, and it'll kind of give you an idea of what we have to spend. And so hopefully from that, their expectations will be aligned to say, okay, this is what we need, whether it's changes in benefits or compensation or whatever that is. Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Okay, so is that it for
Yeah, my superintendent update.
superintendent updates? So then we'll move to legislative updates, and that's Jessica and Wes.
Yeah, so I'll start off with that. We understand right now there's a real impact on funding of public education. Legislation is really in full swing right now, and there are still concerns. They're still trying to cut that $1 billion in shortfall, and right now, it looks like the SOT proposal is going to be probably taken off the table, is what I understand. But as I've shared, we should prepare for something to come out to replace it, and then we don't know what that's going to be. So we could be anything, and we're on a shorter timeline to move forward to address our concerns. But the big thing that I want to point out is the first part is they did a stress test on the budget, and if we have a small recession in the coming year or so, this coming cycle, we won't have money in our reserve at the state level, and that's very concerning. So just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that. CEA is putting forth a ballot measure. We're planning to meet tomorrow, a case with CDA to get better guidance on their ballot measure that they're going to seek legislative approval for. There are some questions, and so we're trying to get a sense of what that will look like when they ask for a huge, an increase in funding at the state level, and then how much that will be cycled down to public education and address the needs of our schools and compensation for our staff. And then federally wise, they passed appropriation bills, and so we've gotten the funding. There's been some increases in some areas and levels, so we're greatly appreciated. But again, we're constantly monitoring the next cycle coming up this coming fall to see what they're going to do with funding for public education. And we do know that some of the areas for funding have moved from the Department of Education to other departments within the government, which it'll be interesting to see how we navigate that change for our system. There's some highlighted bills that are up on the docket. HB 26-1143, background checks, requirements for non-employment educational participants, concerns about administrative burden. As HB 26-1141 expands state level discrimination reporting requirements, concerns about duplication of federal processes. HB 26-1119, authority for different mill levy rates. There's been a push by some districts to increase our mill levies, because if the state's not going to come to help support our schools, then unfortunately we're going to have to go to our constituents, our communities to do that. So they're asking for increasing of mills.
And that's essentially because we're
We're
maxed on our mills.
Yes.
And so this one in particular would help us.
Right. HB 26-1291, educator effectiveness adjustments. It's supported by CASE, but allows a 3-year evaluation cycle for experienced educators. So it reduces the amount of evaluation that teachers receive if they are meeting expectations. So it helps out that way.
Okay, I've got one quick addition. I added it to the folder load, and I apologize. There was an email from Consuelo Redhorse, who's our CASB Region 8 representative. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we all got that email.
Okay, very good. I just wanted to make sure that everyone saw that there was an opportunity. I think the only one that was missed, that wasn't lifted up by Wes, was the Senate Bill 26-135, which is the state public K-12 education funding. But if anybody is interested in ever offering testimony, please let me know. I know Carrie Ann has done it as well. The process is pretty simple if you want to do it virtually, which is not necessarily quite as effective, but is easier to work around a work schedule. So, but just let me know, and I'd love to share how to do that.
Okay, moving on to student data presentation.
All right. So thank you for the opportunity to share our mid-year data. This will have data related to the NWA testing that was done in January. It will also have the DIBEL testing in the fall, and it will have a little bit of CMAS data from last spring to kind of use as a reference point. Go to the next slide. We're going to look at what do we see, what makes us curious, what context can we bring, and what might we try to next, and how will we take action. Next slide. So we're starting off with the NWA MAPS achievement. This is for all grade levels, K-10. In NWA testing, we do it up to 10th grade because that's the limit of the testing ability. The blue you see here is the beginning of the year data, and the red is the middle of the year data. So you see overall some growth in our students as far as their achievement, which is it's pleasing to see. We also see an opportunity here and there, which is something that the principals are working with their staff to look into more and support those teachers. Next slide, please. So this is really where we really focus our attention is on our growth, because it helps us determine how much our students are growing from year to year. And so the blue is the beginning of the year, the red is the current. And you want to see a growth percentile, these numbers here along the top, you want to see a growth percentile greater than 50 percentile. That means that 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. So if you see something higher than that, that means the students are growing more than that. So if you see something like a 71, that means that those students were growing probably almost a year and a half growth during that time. And so that's a really good census. So you see there, and you see some great examples of student growth, and then we have some opportunities. But it's nice to see anything above 50 percentile in the red would be really a good number to see. Okay. Next slide. So this is their DIBELS data. DIBELS is a test for students' ability to use reading comprehension. Well, reading, all the 5 components of reading, but it doesn't test all 5. But it's used to measure student reading. And so the first one is, beginning of the year, is those students who are well below that proficiency. Middle of the year is well below. So you see the blues shrunk. You want to see that shrink from blue to red. That should shrink. You should have less red than you have blue. That means those kids are moving away from below to now they're moving to at or above. So you see here again, the beginning of the year is yellow, and then you see the green.
Don't
Thank
touch
you.
anything.
I'm not going near the cord anymore. So you get a sense of, you want to see red down and green up, and you're seeing that across the board there. In a couple of cases, you have a little bit of a kind of a small drop, and then you don't have. What happens is once they get past 3rd grade, well, this is all grades, but 3rd grade is that year, that year you really want to make sure that you have few kids that are on the read act and more kids who are proficient reading, because that helps them set up for the next stage going into 4th grade on. Any questions so far? Okay.
I have a question, but I think we can wait until the end.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, here we are. So this is CMAS reading. This is from last spring. So you see spring 23, 24, 25. You kind of see a trend there. So what we're wanting to do is make sure, in this case where the last year was low, we want to increase that CMAS reading scores.
What are these numbers for?
This is CMAS. This is a reading
What, like,
achievement.
40, like 40% are
Mhm.
at grade level, is that what that means? Okay.
Okay, next slide. So this is math. So this is your achievement again. This is where the students are right now, and you want to see the red higher than the blue. So we see some trends of that. We see some examples where it can slip, or it's very close. So those again are opportunities. One thing I want to stand out, and it's the same thing for the reading as the math, is that when we're looking at considering our middle school kids, we want to see that higher. So that's something, those kids are a little higher, this is a little lower, so something to think about. Next one, please. So then we look at our growth. Are our kids growing? And so you see like, wow, we saw some growth in the 8th grade. We saw some growth in the 7th grade. So that attributes to having better achievement scores as they move forward because they're growing faster. So that's something to look for. You see things like this as 71 percentile growth. That's pretty phenomenal. Got a little drop there, but it's still a year's growth in year's time. So we want to continue to see if we can get some growth in that math area as we go to the upper grades, the 9th and 10th grade. Okay, next slide. Here's your Math CMAS, and as we know, our data showed there were concerns in the middle school, and so we want to make sure we address that, and we see with our data, we are making steps to address that as far as achievement. Again, it's interesting, you see the 6th grade scores, and then all of a sudden you see 7th, 8th grade. It doesn't just happen that way. So there's something going on, and we think it is making sure the kids took the test seriously and did their best on it. And so that's something Principal Andreas is really working hard with her staff and the students. Her weekly communication is always about, hey, how do we do our best in tests? These are things we need to do. And I appreciate her efforts to really work to support improvement in those scores. Next slide. So now we're going to go into perception data. And the first part is the K-12. So this is the students' perception of their experience, classroom effort, emotional regulation, and management engagement, learning strategies, and social awareness, and the teacher perception of them. They're doing very well, so that's great to see that high score. Next one. Now we're starting to move into the students' experiences, and so what you see here is a ranking of the scores. They feel very supportive in relationships. They feel that their classroom effort's really good. They have positive feelings. But then it starts slipping as you go down, so challenging feelings, they're not feeling so good about that. Emotional regulation, there's some concerns like about that. Self-efficacy, they feel like they want more of that. And growth mindset, they feel that they need more of that. Okay? And then you move into,
Did I skip one?
yeah, you're fine. 6 to 12, again, you start seeing some high things for relationship, classroom effort, but then it starts going down, positive feelings going down. They still have the same thing. Self-efficacy and growth mindset are some areas of opportunity. And you can see our percentile as far as compared to our cohorts, national benchmarks were a little lower. So these are some things that we can work on. I will tell you that the data for 6 and 12, it's similar in other places too. It's something that we all need to continue to work on, is making sure our students are given the opportunity of voice and choice, and they're being challenged. Next one. Here's the students' experience as far as they talk about engagement, rigorous expectations, school safety, sense of belonging, teacher-student relationship, and value in the school. And overall, it's pretty good. I mean, they're a little lower in rigorous expectations, but overall, you see their percentile is very good in that area. So it's very good to see that in our students' perception for the 6 through 12. Then you start seeing a little bit of change. With engagement, it starts getting a little lower. They're not as engaged much in the classroom. There's their expectations a little lower. School safety, actually, it's not too bad. 60 percentile, it's a little green there. Sense of belonging, a little lower. Teacher-student relationships, and value of school. So these are some opportunities to work on, is making sure students feel supported in school. They're being challenged. They have a sense of belonging. They're having rigorous experiences, and they're engaged in their learning. Those are areas for our secondary to work on. I think that's it.
That's it.
Okay. Any questions? Sydney?
Oh, this is great. Thank you for putting this together. I am curious how, it's a lot of numbers. How are we gonna use them?
So this is overall, this is like our 30,000 foot level survey of what's going on.
Okay.
The principals, as I mentioned back in February, they did presentations with their staff. They dug into the data. Our hope is that combining this with the formative assessments. Formative assessments, those quizzes the teachers do in the classrooms, those check-in with the students in the class. I think of a teacher at King Murphy. Before students walk in the classroom every day, she says, okay, we ready to learn? You excited about learning today? All right, fist pump. And then they walk into class. And the kid goes, you ready to learn? And the kid's like, I don't have my pencil with me. And she says, it's okay. Go get your stuff. Go back to the line. And when you're ready to come in, come in. So she checks with the kids every day. Is that mapping up with what she wants to see in her classroom data? Because this is broken down by teacher too, so teachers can see their own individual classroom data. And so it helps them understand what do they want to see in the sense of student belonging. And then when they look at their MAPS data for their classroom, are they seeing the growth they want to see in their students? And are all their students, so they have a quadrant that breaks it down into low achievement, no growth, high achievement, no growth, high achievement, high growth, low achievement. And so they want to see like where do kids on those 4 quadrants land? And how do we want to get those kids over in that upper right-hand corner? And which ones are not, like, oh my gosh, Wes is down here and he should be a higher achieving student. What I need to do to help him? So that may be a side conversation. He may be writing notes and feedback saying, hey, can I help you with this concept you're struggling with? I noticed that your Lexile level is a little lower than it should be for your grade level or what I've seen before. What's going on? Are you reading at home? And I will tell you, that's an issue we all face. We don't read as much as we used to. We watch videos. Guilty? Yeah. And so we need to start thinking about making sure that we have kids reading high interest books. So they want to read things. They want to develop their understanding of the character development of the plot or the theme or whatever that is that the teacher's trying to get across. We want to help them. We have a tendency not to read as much as we should. And that's scary because we're seeing the trend, our reading levels dropping, even adults at that. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I also am like, okay, how are we gonna use these numbers? I'd like to, you have ideas,
Uh-huh.
but I think it would be great if we could actually put some like measurable goals together, whether they're like school level,
Yeah.
grade level, what
Yeah.
have you.
Yeah.
That we can actually see and trend
Right.
the data.
So I love your question. So I'm going to answer it in 2 parts.
Okay.
One is we do UIP, but it can't sit on the shelf or on the computer someplace. It has to be something in action.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to work with my school leaders to making sure that they have UIPs that have voice of the staff involved because they're going to have to own the work that's going to be said in
How are
there.
you getting voice of the staff?
So when you present your data in the fall, have them talk, like, for example, at the high school level,
Mhm.
talk as a department.
Mhm.
How are you as associates department going to help with reading and writing?
Yeah.
It's integral. I mean, you have the documents that kids have to analyze, make share opinion, and all those things. It helps to bring up the passion in students. In math, looking at where we're seeing students having misunderstandings and how do we help them develop their own understanding of the concept? And then how do we help them move from, okay, now I understand, but how to be more efficient? Because on a standardized assessment, you only get so much time. And so that critical thinking skill, like how do I answer those questions in a timely manner? Because you don't have much time to do those things. But also too, then, we're trying to submit a grant by tomorrow. Hopefully we get approved by the state. I want to bring instructional coach into the district to work with school leaders and teachers on how to use data to drive their lesson planning.
Mhm.
What I would say is you're not going to use this data to do your lesson planning because this is autopsy. This is already past tense. You want to use that formative assessment data in the classroom. So when a student takes a quiz from the curriculum, what does that tell you about the student's understanding of those concepts? And then how do you intertwine that information in your future lessons? Or how do you go back and check their understanding as you continue to go forward?
These are numbers that we use more on like a school or district level.
30,000 foot view.
Okay.
But when we start in the fall, teachers and principals should get together and say, okay, here's a look at where we were in the spring.
Mhm.
Based on that and based on our experience of teaching these students, what do we need to do to get those scores up? And then if we're focusing on certain goals that we're going to work on, then like, for example, associate, we're gonna look at primary documents and students are gonna analyze primary documents. That's a huge skill right there. They're gonna read and analyze and use close reading strategies to answer questions. Okay, so those are skills that they can use in the classroom that help support the English teachers who are doing that work too. So that those two work to get correspondingly. Science, how do we read graphs? That's a really hard concept for kids to do. Really important to be able to do that. So how do you read graphs? Like you're looking at this going, okay, what is this telling me? So you have to be able to analyze it, come up with your own opinions on what that means. But that helps you in math too, because you do the same thing in math as reading graphs.
So we haven't done this before. This is our first,
I can't speak to what they've done before. I'm just saying,
well, this is our first like set of like data points essentially.
and we'll have more.
We haven't done like the fall process where we're like, okay, what are our plans and what is our growth? Like, what are we expecting per year? Okay, so this is just,
We're building it as we
Okay.
play.
okay,
Because the thing is that the students in our classroom, our teachers are working hard. We want to make sure they're working efficiently and effectively so that they're not spending their time and the kids are like, either they have it or they don't. And what they don't have, we need to make sure we focus on. What they have, maybe we just make sure they maintain that, but we really got to focus on what they don't have, because the test is the critical, the test of the critical thinking skills. And they develop that in the classroom with the teachers.
okay. So we're working on the attendance policy. I am learning quite a bit about how we are managing attendance in this
Right.
district.
Yeah.
Can you speak to any of that?
Shall we speak to it when we get to the policy?
It's
I
not,
don't-
it's
Oh,
not,
it's not on
it's not this
today's
one,
agenda.
because we're not ready to
Yeah.
present it yet. I would say that it is a
But maybe that-
multifaceted aspect.
Yeah,
One, are we creating a welcoming environment in our schools for every kid?
Okay.
That they feel they have voice,
Uh-huh.
they have choice, that they're being challenged, and they want to come to class. I was sharing with, I think it was Jessica or one of my team, that, when I was a teacher, I had a problem in my class, reverse of attendance issue. I had to kick kids out of my class because they were late to their next class. And the teachers came to me and said, Wes, stop.
or you become a therapist, which is not a problem, but.
But because the thing is that there's like, you say, they're being late to my class, they won't leave. And I'm like, okay. So the thing is, are you creating an environment where kids want to be there? Because they walk with their feet. Their choice is their feet. They either come to school or they go to classes. And as they go to secondary, they walk even more with feet. They're like, I don't take that class, I don't want to take that class, I don't want that person, or what, they have a lot of choices and they make them.
That's a cute analogy.
Huh?
That's a cute analogy.
Right. And so the thing is that when you talk about attendance, what one part is bringing that environment they want to come to. The other one is also understanding where they're coming from. So some of our kids face a lot of challenges. And their parents are doing the best they can every day to support their kids. They love them deeply. But it's a struggle. And so kids are like, they're torn. Like some kids say, I need to take care of my parents. I need to be there. They're going through crisis. I need to be home for them. Or I'm going through crisis. My parents say, I think it's better if you stay home because you're not in a place to be in the learning environment. And so those are all things too you have to look at and try to make sense of and make sure we have the supports here to say, it's okay. Come here. We'll work with you. It'll be fine.
I guess I'm trying to like tie this panorama data in with like attendance.
Uh-huh.
Because I feel like they're probably very closely related, but also two very different numbers that you get.
Perspectives at the same viewpoint.
Yeah.
the same place.
But like, can we like make sure that we're incorporating our attendance and goals for attendance with the panorama data as well?
Mhm.
So that we can kind of get an idea, like, is some of this data because of attendance, or is some of this data just,
The nice thing about Panorama, and maybe at some point we can dive into it.
like, we can juxtapose the two.
Yes,
We don't have to put them together, but they can be side by side.
right. They can different viewpoint of the same issue.
Yeah.
So the nice thing about Panorama data, and that's why I asked us to select that as our product going forward, is it actually gives tools to principals and teachers on how to address it.
Okay.
So, and that's a great resource too. But as far as the attendance thing, I'd say that it isn't, that's something we need to address.
Yeah, it's a topic for another day, as Gary and suggested.
So,
Agreed.
okay. Any other questions?
Jessica?
She said thank you.
Okay. I didn't hear it.
I did, thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is IT update.
So I just want to give you an update as to where we are, because you all asked that we go out for an RFP. So we started the process from scratch, and I just want to thank Erin for showing me how to use the system, because I've never done an RFP. And I want to thank Michelle because her IT knowledge in terms of being with the district forever and a day was super beneficial. So we created the RFP. I sent it out to Brent to make sure that we had all the legal components in it. I sent it out to Calais, which is the technology part of CASPA, and got some support from some other district technology leaders, some suggestions and guidance. And then we put it out on the system, and per Erin's recommendation, we put it out for a week to ask questions. Michelle and I were completely overwhelmed and did not realize how many questions there would be. So we got 50 questions, and within each question was 10 questions. So we've answered all of those. The questions have closed. We set it up so that everybody who wants to submit a proposal can preview all the questions, so that the point was to avoid somebody asking the same question a gazillion times. And so now we are waiting until March 27th is when the window closes, and then all proposals have to be submitted by then. We are only, because a couple of years ago it came up, we are a single state employer. We are only considering proposals for organizations that are based in Colorado and have staff in Colorado, because we also need boots on the ground. And then we will put together a committee. The committee will be myself, Michelle, one board member, Sammy, one of her board members, and then some educators to review the proposals and then decide how we want to move forward. The other thing I am in the process of doing, which I believe that you all have asked for, is I'm putting together 2 job descriptions, one of like a director type level and then a tech level, so that we can also look at that.
Are you posting it?
I'm sorry?
Are you posting it, like as a
I
position?
think what we want to do is,
Just look at the,
no, we want to get guidance from you, because this is a heavy lift for our team to do this RFP process. I will tell you, there were a lot of, and so there's a lot of chocolate going around these days because it's a new process, and tech people are very savvy in their knowledge of the details, and they get really into the weeds very quickly. And we got in the weeds really quickly on a few people that were responding. That being said, we as a team need to decide, like, do we want to hire people to do this, or are we want to do the organization to guide us? And I think we need to look at those 2 things. And I also want to present our current situation to you all, and maybe we do a survey of staff or something like that, maybe, or
Of the current IT.
Yeah.
They did it, and
Okay.
I want that staff survey.
we're in the process of collecting the data.
Yeah.
Okay.
because I want to know, like, because they addressed a lot of issues that weren't being addressed before.
Right.
So we want to see, is that an improvement, and do they want to stay that direction? Or I know people are like, wow, we spend this much money on technology services. Got it, I get it. We expect better because of that. I just want to make sure we can hire the people too, that we can afford within that range and not go above that too. So there's a lot of things that I want to have further conversation about, and so you're going to be guiding us in moving forward.
Is that part of the question that the staff will be answering, is did they have a better experience with a company, or like when there was actually people here as our employees?
So there's a couple things, and what I'm going to recommend is that at the end of the year, we put out a second survey, because I can tell you just this week, like, we did a month-long transition, but one party was more participant in the transition than the other party. And so we went into this knowing that we don't know what we don't know. And this week alone, we found out like 2 pretty significant things that weren't brought to our attention during the transition. So tickets are getting answered, people are getting responses, but right now, it's not as fast as we would like it to be or as fast as it will be because the current provider is still trying to learn everything and figure out what we don't know. So I think the survey results, once we compile them, we will share them, aren't necessarily where we want them to be, but I think we see them trending where we want them to be. And in a couple more months, we'll have more data and more people will have submitted tickets. Right now, there aren't thousands and thousands of tickets. The other thing that we know is based on trends, the bulk of our tickets are July to October because it's the start of the year, everybody's trying to figure it out. So there's a lot of moving pieces. There was which some of you got, a phishing email that went out today and they have quickly taken care of it. They removed it from everybody's inbox, they've done all the scans. So they're doing what we need them to do. But there's only so much data out there, but we will share it once we have it compiled.
And we need input, staff input, we need your input because we want to do what's best for our staff and our students and our families working with our district to make sure it's easy to navigate, that the resources are available to them, and we have as much money to do it with. So we've got to figure out.
It's ridiculously important, and it's a capital piece of our district that I think has not been properly attended to over the years, the structure itself. So we're catching up.
Yeah, so we're doing all our due diligence to make sure we cover all bases and present you like, here's what we have.
To your point, before we post any positions, we want to make sure that one, we can afford it because technology is expensive and technology people are expensive. But we also want to be mindful of what can two people do, even if they're boots on the ground, versus an organization that has multiple people. So we just want to make sure we're considering everything.
Yeah, I guess I was kind of liking the idea of, if possible, to find qualified people to do it, could we?
Right, and that's what we're going to explore.
Yeah,
And we do have boots on the ground with the current organization.
but can
Ten
we
shoes
hire our
fits.
own people?
Right, and that's what we have to see.
It seems like in my short time on the board, when we had actual employees, it was much more streamlined, at least from my perspective, from what I could see. And I'm not in the building every day, but it seemed like there was way less IT issues.
I think it would also just feel more neighborly.
Yeah,
More
it's
neighborly. Yeah,
providing a job
Yeah.
for
You know,
a local
there's a
person.
relationship.
it's like that would be,
Our community would appreciate that.
what?
Our community would appreciate
Yeah,
it. You're so far away.
That's
People would appreciate
How long
that.
can we insert students into the process in the high school level? There's
fun idea.
students that are looking to move into IT or technology.
Like an
So
internship.
every
Or is
semester we put out and ask for student interns, and this year we didn't get any. In the past, we have had.
Does it have to be interns, or can you just have a class, an IT class?
That's a
We're-
big
Yeah,
ask.
yeah,
That's a
that's-
different,
Yeah,
an IT class would be different than what we need.
this is.
And I think one other aspect of this is, when we look at special levies, how we set this up is going to tell us how we can ask for IT money on a levy if that becomes.
Very true.
So we have to be careful, and that has to be an element that we consider.
Yeah, I mean, there's the classroom support, but then there's the back side of all like the stuff in the closet that when the power goes out at the high school, do we have internet at our other sites and making sure that's up and running so we don't have to close everybody down at the same time because one school lost power. So there's a lot of things we're uncovering right now. I think they're moving forward. King Murphy's was able to stay running when the high school went out. Carlson lost theirs, but I think they're just in the process of getting that fixed right now.
We're in the process of testing it right now.
Okay, so we're moving quickly to get things that you don't get to see, but it makes a big difference when you're like, it's not working, it's an issue, so.
There's about 20 projects that we were handed in December that were started and not finished, so we're systematically going through those. In addition to the day-to-day.
Was there anything in the prior contract that gives us any recourse on any of that?
I think
Just
the
the
fact we got,
handoff.
I think the fact we're done,
I think that we just, yeah, isn't it kind of how it was?
I mean,
We just had to-
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I would back charge hours if they had to do their own transition. You know, if there was something in our, I'm that person, if there was something.
We can talk to friends about
If
that.
there's something in their contract that said that they were supposed to be doing a transition and they clearly have not been doing as much of the transition that they should be doing, then that's on them. That shouldn't fall on us.
We can talk to Brian about that.
I love that topic.
I know, we do a successful day with that one, so.
What would what would the back charge look like though? Would
I'm
it
sure it's
be,
just not rendered.
would it be worthwhile?
We could ask.
I think it's probably worth.
No, I just think it would be hard because it was projects that probably, some of them were year-long projects, do you know what I mean? We're just
Mhm.
trying to pick up and figure out what's
Well, I
been
mean,
done.
other
and
than
what
just
hasn't
the
been done.
project thing, the transition piece, you know, like telling the new person what all was going on or what firewalls were doing what and all of those things.
They gave a very high level and now we're trying to figure out the details. We tried to pull the details out of them,
Okay,
but
sounds to me like the contract might have been big enough to let them do that. I don't know.
So it might not be worthwhile.
I can't remember.
yeah, I mean, Brent looked at all of it.
Okay.
This is where because I rely on his expertise.
All right. Anybody else on IT? Okay, monthly expenses Q&A. Jen walked down the hallway, wants to visit us.
My kids are out there on this little motorbike just terrorizing. Hilarious. I almost had to roll through here, but.
You made it safely?
I do not think anyone emailed any questions this month.
I was kind of encumbered with all the other projects you guys have.
I didn't see any of that, so no, I think I know the answer because I talked to Carrie on it, but I was just confirming that the 49,000 for the baseball fields is covered by the insurance.
It is, so my hope was, I think we discussed this last board meeting, to charge it where it was appropriate, like high school maintenance, and then as the checks came in, apply it directly there. But per the chart of accounts, it referred me to another thing that referred me to the auditors and their preferences to hold all of the revenue in its own separate account. So the expenses are all going to hit one line of capital reserve, and the reimbursement's gonna hit another line, so they'll offset each other. So it's all gonna be kind of tucked into cap reserve, so that's where you're gonna see them, like right now, it's gonna be sitting there in this account I created. And then as the reimbursements come in, they're gonna start offsetting these costs, but I can't apply it directly to the line and have it zero out the way that I was hopeful. So when we see the expenses, they're gonna be on here, but there is gonna be revenue to offset that, less 15,000 for the three $5,000 deductibles.
Okay.
So right now it's gonna all just sit in capital reserve because in general fund, it was gonna get too messy to track each and every bit of it. And in cap reserve, you can just see these two clean lines. So, and technically they all kind of are capital projects just need redone. So yeah, there'll be a check. I have a really good spreadsheet on every cost, and then when they said the statements of loss and how much they're paying for each one, every single thing is balanced to the penny so far. So I think we'll be clear minus the $15,000 deductible, and we'll put that against the general fund.
Jen, how many years have we used our current auditor?
Oh, I don't know. As long as
think-
I've been here.
That they were new my first year. So the last year of Holly, or 2 years from the end of Holly.
So
2
5-ish?
years of college.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I only ask because generally you change your auditor every 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
I'm just throwing it out there for consideration, just for a different set of, I think they're great. There's no real reason to, other than I know that that's what people generally do.
Yeah, and we could put a bid out this year to see if anyone has, a lower cost.
Right.
It has crept up a little bit over the years, but they're semi-local, they're mountain.
Yeah, no, I'm
established.
not disparaging them or the work in any way, shape, or form. I mean, we've been very happy with them. I just know that
There
it's
is
a
a
general thing that governmental entities use a new auditor every 2 years.
Right, and Kathleen mentioned that, I would need to go out to bid and, post that, and so that's definitely an option if we want to explore. I think there is benefit from repeat as long as you're having good service, because they do really learn your books and how to put
I
things.
get that.
But if that's something you want me to explore, I'm happy to.
I guess I would just like to know what is the standard of practice, because yeah, where I work is very different than school districts. So yeah, I guess I would trust you to ask that question to find out.
Sure. I can reach out to all the
Thank you.
CFO buddies.
Well, Kathleen mentioned it as well.
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said that that's one of the times when you would want to go to bid for it, so.
I have another question, not so much for Jen, but maybe Wes. Any update on the, I don't know what you're calling it, BOCES transitioning some of that into in-house?
I don't think we're at that point yet. We posted the position.
But it's still a work in progress.
It's still work in progress. So, we postponed the day they were going out. I think it was last week. Lorraine and Terry were gonna go out and visit the school in Brighton. And they postponed it because Lorraine was covering classrooms. And so, she said it's okay, we reschedule that time. So they're gonna reschedule that, but the job's posted currently. And I have a meeting tomorrow with Terry and the other two superintendents, and that's one of the items I'm gonna discuss on my agenda, is just to kind of see where Terry is with things. And there is gonna be some upfront costs that we'll have to incur, and I'll bring it to you once I have that information. Because we have to prepare the rooms. They don't have the furniture for the setting for the students they'll be having in the classroom, so we need to make some changes there. And then we have to remove some shelves in a room between the two classrooms for the students when they need to get re-regulated.
I mean, right now we just paid $64,000 for 1 month, so I feel like some initial costs, if we can bring it in-house, would be.
My hope, and I think this is what Terry said, is that we'll probably be right about where we are right now at this point next year, but then it'll get less expensive as we go forward, because there's these initial costs of getting rooms set up and hiring paraprofessionals to work with the students in the classroom.
And maybe we can get more students if we offer that.
If we build it, they will.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I do get a feeling that the students from Gilpin and Black Canyon will most likely, the superintendents will ask to have their students sent here, so we'll have that income coming to us. And then I wouldn't be surprised if Grand or Summit maybe choose to do the same thing.
And I think we're projecting more autistic students moving forward. I think we're gonna see that number
Yes.
increase as time goes on. I think it's one of the smartest pivots that we could make. Thank you, Wes.
Yeah, sure. So I understand the urgency. So thank you. I will get that information to you.
Thanks.
Do we have a maximum number of students that space can accommodate?
Yeah, I just think my experience is that you don't want to have a large number of students.
Right.
Like,
That's my
if you
concern.
want to have it small, because ideally what we want to do is create the opportunity for these students to integrate with their peers.
Mhm.
And so we want to make sure we have the things established and a comfort and a level of where they can go with their paraprofessional to the one-on-one, to the electives or specials, or into classrooms that would have benefit them in their development. So yeah, that's our ultimate goal, is to have them transition to the mainstream classrooms, so that they have those experiences with their peers. And so if you have a large, it can become a focus of school leadership and everything, so we don't want it to disrupt the school.
Mhm.
Because you have too many kids and too few adults
Right.
to support them. Hopefully that makes sense.
Anything else, Marcy?
No,
I will tell you, this topic that you brought up was a big topic for the superintendents on Friday. with the number of students with autism that are coming into our schools and some of the legislations coming down the pike, there are some real concerns about how we're going to put supports in place for the students. And, you know, the number of students are being sent to out of district placement is impacting a lot of schools. I mean, we talk about our budget, you just said, but other districts that are talking millions of dollars
Yeah.
they're spending. And I said, you know, it's probably a lot easier to keep our kids than sending them out of district. So I'm working towards that because, and plus you have those connections with families, they have connections with school, and the kids have peers that they can connect to too.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Some
Anybody
small
else?
wins,
Do you have any other highlights for us?
We had big highlight, but
Okay.
there's credits for a couple of line cancellations with CenturyLink,
Woo!
$114, but that will be every month for forever, so it will eventually add up. MCI is on here this month, but it is the last month we'll see that, so another $69 per month win. It's just kind of trimming the fat on things that no longer serve us, so.
Thank you.
I'll go switch.
You have a thing.
I'll check.
Thank you for presenting.
Okay, next on the agenda is the telemetry, did I say that right?
Sure,
Okay,
yes,
equipment for King Murphy Pond.
yes.
And reviewing reports.
So, I want to give a shout
Do
out
you guys have
to,
the kids in the closet or something?
Just running around.
Sorry.
no worries. So, talking about RFPs earlier, Aaron put out an RFP for vendors that would be willing to install this equipment at the pond at King Murphy. You see the attached examples. We have the first one from Colorado Water and Civil Contractors and their proposal for that. The thing that was concerning about that one is that it lacked detail. So if you look at their proposal on page 3 of the document, the numbers don't add up. We don't know where they got the numbers from, and it's very concerning that this is the proposal they sent us. So,
Red flag.
right, exactly. Whereas Hydrologic LC provided a fully developed turnkey system design that really can help us understand exactly what they're doing, and they're also recommended by the state. Is that what you told me? They're recommended for their services?
Yeah, by the state water commissioner for the area.
So, so based off of those 2 proposals, the third one I think chose not to submit a proposal. Is that what you said?
I only received 2
Of the
quotes.
2, okay. So we have those 2 proposals. One, I would not recommend at all, and the second one, I would recommend we go through with Hydrologic because of what they presented, and that would be for $16,291.
Does anybody have any questions on the proposals themselves for Aaron or Wes?
So a little overview of what it is. It's telemetry equipment so that we can accurately submit to the state water levels in the King Murphy Pond. So it'll measure inflow, outflow, and then the pond depth or level itself. These are requirements by the state that we are required to do. We should have been doing it for many years. This was passed down to me and started by my former directors, and something that the state has got back on us for and is requesting that we complete. The contract, we did get a grant in about 2018 for the $6,000 in equipment. Some of that equipment can't be used, and I've asked both contractors to be able to provide us a credit in their quote for that equipment. So the equipment is ours, it's being held, and both quotes show the reimbursement for the equipment. But,
I have a couple of questions.
Mhm.
And mostly just for public so that they can hear the things. Why do we have a pond at King Murphy?
Well,
What's feeding the pond?
what's feeding the pond is Beaver Brook Canyon.
Do we have a water right?
We have water rights at King Murphy. We have water rights here. Our water rights are also with the county, Clear Creek County. So the pond itself is actually Clear Creek County's. And the pond itself supplies our well with drinking water to the school.
Okay. So it's supplementary to the well?
There's a well in place at the pond. It's through reading documents and information that the pond or the creek supply the well with the water.
That makes sense. I mean, usually it's groundwater, but yeah.
Right.
Okay, so drinking water for King Murphy, and they want to be able to know what the measurements are from the state level. I appreciate the way that the proposals were provided. Thank you. I think it's great. I mean,
So like here in our pond, we have to also record the measurements, what we take from the creek, what we put in our pond, what we release to the creek, and what we use for irrigation. We also have water rights here.
Right.
We're able to do that in a different system here than there.
I think it sounds good, and it's good to meet the state requirements.
right?
Especially when they're emailing me.
Yeah.
I do plan to use bond funding for this, so.
Right. So does anybody have any aversion to approving the recommended contractor when we go to the business meeting? And if so, are there any questions? Doesn't sound like it.
Do you want to approve it? I don't believe that
We
it
can't
needs to
hear.
be approved because it's bond funding.
Oh, that's right, it's bond funding,
So-
you're correct.
Basically, I wanted to let you guys know
Thank you.
that this project
Yeah.
is happening and it's required to happen. But because we're using bond funding, that I just need a head nod and
That's why we're transparent with you.
Yes, thank you,
Looking forward to
And with the
knowing
public.
contracts or anything.
thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to marketing contract extension.
Right, so I want to thank the board for letting us allocate the funds that were set into account for PR, which we didn't really need that. We needed communications is what we needed. And so we've gone through that. The foundation has also contributed funding to help us out with that too. At this time, due to projects like Look at My Water project, we'll work on that. The work on getting the outdoor rec and tech things going, and also a lot of time she spent with Michelle and our website provider to get their website up to what the level is right now, which I think is much better than the previous websites and better than when we started at the beginning of the year. I think that she's done her due diligence in making sure that she's increased communications. So my communications go out monthly, the Board of Education's communications go out, and our social media presence and helping make sure that we are really showing the community what's happening in our school district has been really well received, and I appreciate her work doing that. So I'm asking for the board's approval for $6,000 to get us through from now until in July so that we can continue the communications and going into summer as we plan for next school year.
And I also think that the communications have been great. I think it's helped us in some bumpy spots. Now this $6,000 isn't for arrears, it's for new.
It's new.
And is there anywhere else that we can pull this from besides reserve?
I'll have that information for the next meeting. There is some areas, but I want to make sure I talk to Jen.
Right.
Put me on the spot here right now. So I
Sure.
want to talk to her, make sure, because she's the one that keeps me out of trouble with expenditures.
Sure, of course. I just know that reserve is a touchy-feely subject.
Completely understand.
We, of course, are looking for cost savings. And there's a good chance we can find it in some other pockets. It was just, since this wasn't budgeted for, and we weren't exactly sure how much more we would need for Kimberly for the year, but I think Wes met with her and was able to lock in a number. But yes, it's something we can find elsewhere. It's just not going to be budgeted for under that particular category where it was originally what we originally have budgeted there.
Or we've had savings.
So what does that do to the process? Do we have to do anything? Transfer one line item to the other? I don't,
Yeah, it would be an internal budget transfer, just depending on where we can find cost savings and if we can find cost savings.
I mean, that's just my thought, ladies, on the reserve fund. I don't know what your thoughts are.
The scope of the proposal is quite broad. I guess I'm wondering like how exactly this $6,000 would be, like would we have deliverables? Are we paying like an hourly thing?
So we pay hourly.
Okay,
And she's working through the things that, so as we go into next year, like you make sure that we have, like we're working right now on CDLS. I was asked to by the board, and I'm not ready because we just started finalizing that project, but about how we send communications out to folks who are homeschooling, who are looking at alternative placement, alternative education opportunities, who might want a hybrid experience, or whose child might be involved in the winter sports that needs that flexibility of attending school in the fall, but going online in the spring, and then be able to come back in the fall to continue. So there's some work on that to get those communications out and making sure that it's available and streamlined and clear for somebody who's coming to our website saying, how do I register for online coursework and so forth? So those are examples of things that continue to come up and we give to her and she's able to create for us and help parents easily navigate. As I talked to the folks in the enrollment task force, they said it's so much better to go when you enroll your child in our district, to go to the page, see the video clips, see the information they need, be able to contact folks and do the registration process.
is this something that'll, that will be, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
But now we have a better idea of how to budget for it next
Yes.
year.
Yeah.
I think our marketing and communications were a big pain point. And I think I'm really happy with Kimberly, and I think she is really helpful to the enrollment task force. So if we can figure out, I agree with Carrie Ann.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And then the rationale is like clear, strategic, consistent communication to maintain public trust,
Mhm.
strengthen partnerships. And then there's something up here, the goal. To build, that strengthen trust, strengthen partnership. There was something else that I saw. But I'm wondering, like, is there a way that we can somehow use data and trends and stuff like that to like give us an idea of how effective or how much this is helping us, so we can balance like cost benefit analysis, essentially.
Like, does she get click rates as far as who opens? how?
That's really interesting. Our website provider doesn't provide that resource like some websites do. So that was something that she brought up that we need to look into how we can either add it to an add-on or
She can add a
something.
tracker to it.
Yeah, because she
Third
says
party.
the website right now doesn't allow what we would hope to get from it.
Yeah, I
I
guess,
just think we'd be able to then adjust and have better marketing.
Right now, she does get click rates on her social media postings.
Okay.
So she does know how many people click on that to look and maybe go to the website from that, but she's not getting it from our website itself.
Well, I'm thinking about emails in particular, because like we're now sending board emails, principals are, you are. Which ones are most effective? So then we can say, okay, most people are opening Wes's emails, but ignoring this, the schools or the boards. Let's put the most pertinent information in the email.
That's a great question. I think,
like, okay, so the purpose of this engagement is to strengthen proactive, clear, and consistent communications that build trust, transparency, and partnership. How do we know if that's working?
I think we've received feedback. I mean, people were really upset at the beginning of the school
We
year.
definitely heard
With our
from women they
communications.
weren't happy.
Yeah, we should have like actual data points and measurable data and
Right.
goals so that we know if we're spending our money the best way we possibly
Now,
can.
when she was here, she mentioned geofencing, and that is something that she can get from the Facebook marketing that she's doing. She can actually tell, and she can actually send them out if she is doing geofencing. She can actually send them out, you know, to just families that have kids, not just the single guy living over here and sending him the information. You know, so that's the fact that she even knew about geofencing was exciting to me because so many people don't, and it's such I mean, I use it every day. And my marketing dollars would be a complete waste if I didn't use it. But I think it's really, really important that we do direct targeting, and I feel like she maybe is hitting that mark better than we were before.
I'm
So-
just saying, can we drive it further?
Yeah.
We could.
That's my,
But
if we're gonna pay for the service, let's make sure we're as effective as possible.
So when I said two parts, first I'll start with yours and then I'll
Yes.
answer yours. So the geofencing, she's targeting other schools right now. So she's promoting our school when you were at other schools.
Right.
'Cause
That's great.
That's what we need to do.
That's very strategic, and exactly what.
So that's one of the things she's
Great tool.
doing, which is unique, because I was thinking, well, just do it here, but now she said, why? Do it at the schools where the kids are at and have them look
Did she
into
hit
it.
Summit County?
I don't know, but she
Can you
said.
please ask?
We offer more AP classes than Summit.
Yeah.
A lot more.
And then the other thing, so back to the question about impact, I do think we can look at that, and she's not afraid to work on that part. I think one of the things she did initially was she talked to the principals about their communication. And I think you have seen, if you get the principals' weekly communications, you see a much more graphically pleasing, there's more pictures. The information is about what is happening in the schools, you're hearing stories about classrooms that have visited and those unique aspects, so that we're highlighting the student experience that's happening in our schools, so we're telling our story. So I think that's been a huge improvement. So I believe Sammy and Lorraine and Maria are using S'mores, which is the software that does that. So it creates a much more pleasing, you're seeing better communications coming from middle school, high school than you saw at all. And now it's much more, even more telling their story too. So I think those are examples of that impact, but not getting a response, but I think you're seeing it yourself when you see those documents.
I mean, that's hard for me to speak to since it took 3 years to start getting them, but I'm just happy to get them. But they've been great now that they've got them.
Right.
They're great.
And I think, I want to do a shout out for Scott too. He's doing great communications. with
Yeah.
American too.
Yes.
So
He
he's
put
really,
a shout out, and I'll just piggyback on it. There's a bingo at Georgetown Community School on Thursday, starting at 4:30. And he put the link in his newsletter for Georgetown.
Yeah, I think I just would like a little bit more of a measurable way to evaluate like the engagement response and how how it's improving for communication.
I appreciate that. I hear you saying.
All right, anything else on the marketing contract extension? Okay, WR Communications contract, this is our polling guide.
Right, so this is the contract that we discussed at the last board meeting. So this just gives you a chance to see a breakdown of what the services would look like and what it entails, scope of the service, collaboration with the board, administration bond team, developing a community update mailer and survey data analysis and presentation of findings, assistance with ballot language and development, community leader and stakeholder outreach, creation of factual summaries and communication materials, social media and website content support, which you'll work with our communications consultant, in transition planning for policy phase to potential campaign phase. So you have a copy of this contract. Hope you had a chance to look at it. He did present at our last meeting, kind of outlining his work, and he's willing to work with us to help save some money by using local vendors for the postcards or any mailings that go out or things of the sort, so that if we have a better deal here, he's more than willing to use those services. So my recommendation is that the board consider his proposal and approve that, sorry, it's me, Over here.
Going on with it.
yeah, right hand cloak, I guess. And approve the contract,
Did you confirm that it could come out of capital or?
yes.
I guess the only question I have is whether or not we approve it with phase one and phase two is contingent. I mean, because it looks like phase two can be dropped.
It can be, you're correct.
So do we approve phase one and then say phase two is approved and then, I mean, how do we frame that?
I think we can get him going right now, the work he's doing, and then as you see that work in his reports, you can make a determination to, if you want to enter phase two. And that could, I think phase two starts happening around that August time. So,
Exactly.
I mean, that's what he'll give his report on, his final report based on the second set of polling, and you all will make a determination on if we go with the ballot measure and what it would look like.
Oh, I see. It's within the contract itself that we can, I forgot, that we can cancel phase two after that. It's just a freebie
Right.
that we can do that. Does anybody have any questions?
I agree that we should evaluate phase two before just going forward. Get the data.
I agree.
Jessica, anything else?
I
She wanted
agree.
to have a margarita or something.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So I agree.
I agree with the margarita. Okay, next on the agenda, CCSD logo with new tagline, where academic excellence meets mountain adventure.
Yep.
And then we had a couple graphics presented as well.
Correct. So at a recent board meeting, the enrollment task force presented to us their request that we update our tagline on our logo. And the board asked for them to do a mock-up of the design, which Stephanie embraced and created the images that you see on page 3 of your packet there. And I would recommend that based on their presentation of requesting we change it to make it more relevant to our school district and the board's request to have a mock-up that we approve it. She's willing to make any changes you feel like she needs to do. If you don't feel the graphics are perfect, she can always adjust that, but here's where we are right now with the design.
So it's the one with the mountains and the water, or it's either or?
Both of them.
Both of them.
We use both of them interchangeably in documents.
I like them.
Me too.
So then we'll do approval and then.
Yeah. Okay, next on the agenda is family calendars review survey results. This feels like a Kristen thing.
Yep, so I'm going to answer any questions that you have.
I don't have any questions. There's a lot of feedback, but I think based on what you had said last month, I mean, there's only so much wiggle room, really. I think I'm happy with what you guys came up with.
Is there any part of the feedback that concerned you or heightened to a level that you're like, oh crap, I didn't think about that?
No, I would say that for us, the feedback that we got back is what we expected.
Right.
I mean, I feel like Michelle and I did a comprehensive dig into looking at all of the options, which is why we went out. After next year, we went out 3 more years. Typically, we try to go out 3 years at a time, but we felt like going out to 2030 really gave us the data that we needed of how, when you do a full cycle, because that will be like me being in the district 7 years. So then that's where the calendar flips in terms of like whether the start of the month is at the beginning of the month, the beginning of the week, the middle of the week, or the end of the week. So I feel like we've considered everything. I know that there was a lot of feedback about starting later, but to start later, we have to end later. And one of the things is that there wasn't a huge participation in the survey. And so when Michelle and I talked to some staff, the people who don't like what we currently have are the people that responded. The people who are happy or good with what we put out there because we shared the calendars aren't necessarily responding.
I'm concerned that when families give us feedback on something like this, for example, we understand like the limitations to it, and we can explain it. But I think we still need to give families an opportunity to show them that we're listening and that we're considering their feedback. And I know that it's probably gonna be a lot of work, but I would like to see like a mock-up of what a calendar could look like if we push back the start date a week or two.
You would just mean to go a week or two into June.
Mhm.
So I have no problem doing that. I'll give you my perspective and then as an override everybody else's. It's just that when I believe at one time they did have, I think when they first went to changing the calendar, they had to one week later. Is after other school districts around us get out. And it was really hard for the students to have that experience and the teachers too. Oh.
Somebody raise their hand. Who is that? Michelle. Go for it.
Hi.
Yes. Hi, Michelle.
So I just wanted to kind of point out, so one of the big things that came out with the districts, the survey that we sent out was a concern about how our calendar did not reflect our neighboring districts. And I'm going to let Kristen chime in at any time on this, but the neighboring districts that we have, that we are BOCES with, are Gilpin and Platte, and our calendars reflect similar start dates and holiday dates with a few exceptions on that. The Jeffco calendar is different, but for context, they're a 5-day week. And their calendar, their semesters, their first semesters and their second semester, it's what, 14 days, 13 days difference?
Yeah, first semester is 79 days and the second semester is 92 days because they start later and then go later. And what our teachers and educators in this building have said, because it really affects more with the semesters, is if you have a class that runs, if you have the same class and you teach at first semester and you teach at second semester and you have 13 or 14 days more, that's 3 more weeks in second semester that those students are learning something that the students who took that semester class first semester didn't get. And so
And to
you're
put that
having
in
to
perspective, exactly what Kristen just said, is we're talking about graduation requirements. We're not talking about like an art class or a PE class. We're talking about geography and health. So those are graduation requirements. So I don't know that it's fair to our students to look at shortening out first semester from second semester.
And Sydney, to your point, we do want families and staff to know that we're listening. Like, we can mock up a calendar that's gonna start 2 weeks later and end 2 weeks later, but that's all it's gonna do is shift it 2 weeks. We can put together communication addressing questions and sending that out.
Just feet on the ground every single year.
Say that again?
Every single year at the beginning of the school year.
It's, right now,
Parents
it's,
complain about how soon we're going back to school.
not every year. It seems like when we put out
Cool.
a survey.
The last 3 years, I'm just saying, like, being there, parents are not happy with how hot it is in the schools, that in June when we get out, it's nice and cool, and then we're going back into school when it's hot. And the schools aren't necessarily prepared for that.
I'm hearing your reasoning in the
Yeah.
process. I get it. It's clear.
Yep.
But I also want to consider the stakeholder feedback. And if we kind of anticipate what it's gonna say, and we might make like a mock-up calendar, we haven't even gotten to that point, I don't think. But like, if we already know what it's gonna say, And we already know that we're not going to really do anything because we have like our reasonings or process or whatever it is, then why are we asking?
We didn't say that we weren't gonna consider it. I just don't think that the amount of people who responded and said that they want to start later is a big enough pool or a big enough response to then change everything in terms of then we're separating ourselves from BOCES.
Well, it wouldn't be just a change, it would be okay, here's a mock-up that we've made. This is not like a calendar change. This is, okay, we're hearing your feedback, this is what it would potentially look like. And then we can also address some of the other reasons as to why we do it the other way. This is not to say we're changing it.
Right, so I guess I'm not understanding if we know that it's just gonna shift 1 or 2 weeks, why do we need a mock-up? We know what it is.
Well, I'm kind of hearing what she's saying, but I'm hearing exactly what you're saying too. But I'm also wondering, have we really reached out to all of our stakeholders?
I've
I
got
don't feel like,
another
I don't-
question along those lines is if people are giving us feedback and we don't really change anything, then why are they gonna keep giving us feedback? Maybe that's why we want feedback.
so to finish.
Well, and I think that you guys need to, that your stakeholders aren't just your parents, they're your staff members. And Kristen has the information on what the staff said about ending before Memorial Day or ending after Memorial Day. And it was, I'm going to let Kristen answer that.
86.4% of staff asked to end before Memorial Day.
So again, I'd like to finish my sentence.
Yes.
My stakeholder question is more in tune with the community and the business community specifically. Having run businesses in this community, it is very difficult when our workforce is high school students and we've got the busiest time of the year coming up 2 weeks after they go back to school. And I know that that's the parents and that's the student stakeholder, but that's also a business community. I mean, it hurts Clear Creek community businesses because we don't have enough employees as it is. But I don't know that we've really hit that aspect of things or reached out to that.
I don't have
Yeah,
a
right.
reach out. to
Exactly.
the
How would we?
community.
How did
We
we?
reached out to
It's just occurred to
families,
me
yeah,
today sitting here.
yeah, families and staff.
Right, yeah. No, I get that.
So we can do a mock-up, and then we'll do a survey, we'll send it out to our parents and our staff, and see what their feedback is on the two proposals. If that's
Maybe we
okay.
can make a QR code or something so we can make it easy to like pass a piece of paper on that says like, can you please do this survey?
Sure, I mean, whatever,
So that we can reach more people.
so QR code be given to,
Just a public one, publicly available, so people can scan it and take the survey based on if they like the calendar or not. If it's something,
Well, and maybe we do reach out to some of the community pages too, to see what the community,
Just put on
the
social media.
business, yeah.
the social media, I'm just trying to figure out where, if we're gonna email, they're gonna have a link. If they share that email, they'll get that link too, but if we,
QR codes are just,
it makes it easier to take it on a phone, which is your device you have with you all the time.
yeah, so
I'm
if
just trying to think
I
the audience would be, probably on social media would probably be that audience.
I don't spend much time on social media and I'm not great at my emails, so if you give me a QR code, I might be more willing.
So how would you like me to
How
get
would,
you a
yeah, how would you
QR
get
code?
that?
I mean, I guess we could just do like email, like you said,
Uh-huh.
potentially social media, and then,
A QR code in the bottom of the
Yeah,
document?
yeah.
Fair enough.
I would love that.
So the document that sent you to the link for the survey?
It's
Is
a
that a QR
message.
code on the
Yeah, that's
email?
an email.
Yeah.
That's
sorry.
what I mean, yeah.
but then I can print off the email.
And social
Are you thinking 2 weeks or 1 week or? Because if we do just like a 1 week shift,
I
it's
think
only
school should start
4
September
days.
12th.
Well, you said you think it should start September 12th?
School should start September
Semester
12th.
one, middle of January.
That might be a bit of a stretch.
That's a month.
Well, no,
I mean, maybe shifting it 1 week and it's a happy medium.
I mean, the other suggestion would be, could we potentially look at putting a week or two of first semester into second semester at the beginning? It's silly, but that's how we did it when I was in school. Kristen, that's how you said you guys did it.
Yeah.
but that's the only way to make it work.
I just think if we do 1 week, it's 4 days difference between first semester and second semester versus an 8-day.
Isn't there one year we'd be starting August 8th?
It's always the, second Wednesday of August. So it depends on when August 1st is.
And I think we should consider sports too, when they start, because they start, they'll be,
I think
so,
they start August 1st.
yeah, so that's something to consider.
So part of why we modeled out to 2030 is the second Wednesday is August 14th. So it'll cycle back through being later, and then as we go through 7 years, it'll be earlier, and then it'll. And I know, Sydney, you mentioned, could we some years do the second Wednesday in August, and some years do the third Wednesday? But that's not being consistent, so I don't know.
Maybe I guess that's we have to compromise on some things, and so maybe that's a compromise.
So for sense of collecting relevant data to make these changes, I've heard proposals 4 days, I've heard a month, 2 weeks.
I'd argue that's more like 5 or 6 weeks.
Fair enough. I'm just trying to get a sense of what do we want to ask, because, I mean, it's hiring season, we're doing a lot of things right now. I want to be, I write for technology, I want to be like cognizant of time, but I want to get the information we want to gather to collect, to help you all make a decision
This
to
is
approve.
2 weeks worthwhile.
I would
of the
love
effort.
2 weeks.
I'm hearing 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
And I lean towards 1, but I'm not gonna bicker over that.
Okay, so it'd be looking at, okay, so 2 weeks later is what you're saying.
And going 2 weeks later into the school year.
Okay.
I mean, into the summer,
summer,
sorry.
It's still one unusual.
I would argue 1, just having
What's that?
meeting, I think 1 is, because then 1 would still get you out before Memorial Day,
Well, I'm wondering if
It
you
would
do
be
2
just after
weeks.
Memorial.
or right after, not
Usually
June
after
8th.
Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Like I said, in my experience when we went to June 8th, it was horrible. And I ended up pulling my kid out early because we had a wedding to go to, like it didn't work, it's too far into the summer.
It's so different in the Midwest.
So I'm hearing consensus of a week.
So I was leaning towards 2 weeks because I think that that's like a big enough change so that people can see like what that would actually look like, whereas 1 week they might just be like, oh, it doesn't really look any different, I don't care. So.
I don't think that people know what it looks like until they are living it. And the year that we went to June 5th, we had nothing but complaints.
Well, and then that becomes a reference point when people ask for this again in the future.
It is a reference point.
Okay, well, then we don't have to do it.
I just know that that was a situation I heard about, and I wasn't even in the district at the time. Kids were like, I'm going longer than my friends here and my friends there, and so.
I just out of curiosity, when does Jeff come in?
It was 4 days.
They end, this is their 26, 27 calendar, so next year, and they end May 28th.
And
I
then
believe, sorry, May 27th, I think, May 27th. And they start, but they're 5 days,
right,
they start August 19th.
Yeah, so we have to compromise somewhere.
yeah.
They start 1 week after us, and they go 5 days. And they end when we end.
Right.
So even though their friends are done at the end of the year, their friends still don't go back for another week.
You're gonna get the complaint either at the beginning or the
Yeah.
end. Yeah, it's where we want them.
Right, but they have 5-day weeks and they
Yeah.
have a whole week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And they have Martin Luther King,
I think a week, it gets you out, so you do go through Memorial, but you are out before June. I think that's a good compromise. It's at least, I don't know, trying.
Okay, so
So compromise is 1 week.
I mean, if we can't get a month, whatever.
Well, unless you want to go all of June and into July.
No.
Or year-round school.
Well,
No.
I just
Ready for
wanna
that one?
confirm.
Every 9 weeks.
Not for next
Our
year.
attendance is already.
no, this is not for next year. This is
We've
for,
already approved all that, and it's,
right.
it's way too late to be changing that for families now.
No, we already
Right,
approved.
we've already
Yeah.
done that.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay, did we beat that one? All right, on to donation from Evergreen Legacy Foundation.
Did we want to discuss the semesters versus trimesters?
Oh, it sounds like that was kind of decided.
What did you say?
So the recommendation from the school leaders was we go to semesters, and so it'd be semester, quarter, like parent-teacher conferences.
It doesn't really affect.
But I think next year, because it's already been published, we'll have a little off next year, but then it'll be on cycle correctly with the calendar the following year. I'm correcting what
I think
what the
we
document,
said
sorry.
That's what the teachers wanted.
that we could consider doing semesters, but we weren't gonna change any of the other dates, like conferences and all of that.
Right, because they've already got locked in for folks, so it was okay with that part. But depending on what you guys, it depends on the calendar.
Well, we're not, that would be different, because we're not
Oh, right.
changing next year's calendar
Right,
unless we wanna go to semesters for
Okay.
everybody.
And just to be
But it
clear,
sounds like
it's
everybody
only
does.
family.
Everybody does wanna go to
Correct.
semesters, yes.
So that sounds great. That was a great point for you guys to mention, bring up.
I don't think it would change when conferences need to be done.
Depends on who you ask.
I mean, we just need a progress report at conferences.
it's just what they do for that conference,
Yeah.
and then they turn around and do the grades right afterwards, so you try to marry them together at some point. That makes sense.
Are we all good?
Yeah.
Okay. Donation from Evergreen Legacy Foundation.
After the tragedy that happened at Evergreen High School this past fall, Evergreen Strong reached out to their community and the greater communities about fundraising to make sure that a tragedy like that doesn't happen at Evergreen again, or in this case, they raised up money, it doesn't happen in neighboring schools. So they reached out to Maria and asked her if she had a proposal, and she took the proposal of having all the exterior doors have a localized alarm on them that would notify staff that the door had been opened. And so the Evergreen Legacy Foundation approved the funding for $8,100. And she and I both reached out to the Clear Creek School Foundation, and they're matching that with an additional $8,100. And so that $16,000, we're asking that the board accept both the contribution from Evergreen Legacy Foundation and from the Clear Creek School Foundation to provide those funds so that we can install the localized alarms and all the push bars.
I think it's fantastic. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't accept this donation. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about this donation?
I don't. Sounds great.
It's fantastic. Thank you. Moving on to early childhood education playground grant.
Right, so Mitch, the executive director with the Clear Creek School Foundation, reached out to propose, he's writing a grant to pay for the installation of the playground, the interactive playground for the future location of the ECE Center, and also enhancing the current space for expeditionary or experiential learning that's on the east side of the campus. And so the grant application outlines just all the improvements, and what I'm asking for is that the board approve his grant proposal, and the funding would go through approval through the district. We would be the fiscal responsibility for the project. With no funding coming from the district.
Except for the years of maintenance.
Yes. as with all projects, yes.
And is
Does
it
anybody have any
fully
questions?
funded by the
East side,
grant?
Like right in front of it?
You're right,
Yeah,
so
it's
it'd be the
north
north
and
side,
south.
sorry. When you're in the mountains sometimes, you're down the hill, you always go, what's this there, see the figures out there, you from there. When you're up here sometimes you're like, hey,
Where's that?
yes.
Just making
thank
sure you're
you.
paying attention.
You're right. Got me on that one.
Does anybody have any questions on the proposal or the grant?
Is it fully funded? If we get it?
I
You know-
don't know, this is a proposal for them to receive the funding, so we'll see if they get the full.
So basically, we can move forward with the grant and then talk more
Yes,
once it's.
yes, with your approval, they can move it forward and submit the grant application for the funding.
So I do have some concerns about this.
Okay.
I mean, I sat in that page turning meeting and nobody mentioned to me that we would end up with a liability or the maintenance and the financial responsibilities as we were going through that page turning, which is fine. But there's no map. There's nothing for us to look at or even see a design for us to approve the grant.
I think that's because of the fact that the design we saw, they had multiple examples, and they had to change the layout of the ramp because they felt that it needs, the 13 inches at the pad where they're going up to, they needed to lessen the slope of that ramp for the students who were in wheelchairs.
Well, and I think that not having the list of all of the elements of the playground to know what that looks like for our maintenance crew is a problem for me too.
Okay.
Like,
How much do we-
what are the benches made out of? Is the amphitheater just porous concrete? What is the amount of the grant? What is their match? What is the project total that we'll end up insuring and having a liability for? And I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions. I have a concern that ECE is our tenant at Carlson, right? They have that space, but they aren't fully funded to do the renovation yet. And they've let us know that they're not doing any renovation until they're fully funded. They have, we're all hoping, and we will all help, but they don't have the funding now, and they're hoping to get the funding. But it seems a little weird to do this ancillary piece before they've even done this piece. What happens if this piece doesn't come to fruition and we lose our tenant, and then we've got this piece that isn't even accessible or usable and or needed?
Maybe we should ask Mitch to clarify some of those questions.
Well, I think that a lot of these things are just details maybe they don't know at this point.
I think he's looking for funding because in the original scope, I don't think he had the funding for the playground in the scope that was presented to the board previously.
Right.
And so I think he's found a way of getting funding, and so he wants to lean on that opportunity now. I understand the questions, and I, like you asked, maybe having him do a presentation on that. I hear what you're saying. I like your guidance if you need him to give further information before you sign off. But he does need our approval since it is on our school site to move forward. So I just need to figure out what you need from him to
I've
answer your questions.
Yeah, I've actually typed up all of my questions for
Okay.
you. Just going through the things, but again, I am, and it mentions trails, mountain trails,
Mhm.
as taking over responsibility for the south portion, but not the north portion. We have no partnership with Mountain Trails. They are not in any document of ours that we have no adherence with them. They are nothing to us, essentially. We do know that, that the foundation can sublease to Mountain Trails, and that's future.
Mhm.
But again, that's a contract that exists right now that says this work is gotta be done before you do that. And it just feels very cart and horsey.
Mhm.
And when I think about the timing of this and the timing, because it kind of sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you have had better, more updated conversations, but I think the construction at Carlson for the ECE, best case scenario is probably next summer, 2027.
That's a great prediction. I think it really depends on access to funding, and I know that Mitch and the foundation are working really hard to try to make up the difference where they are right now, what's it actually cost to finish the construction of the site. And so I think that it could be the possibility. And I think you do have a question, can this, since the timing of that, can this be right? Interesting.
Right, is this going to have another cycle? And I think this granting program has been in existence for 20 years or so. Maybe one in Georgetown, but, maybe it makes more sense for us to hit this cycle next year.
Does this help him free up funding that was allotted for the playground and then shifted across?
There was no money set, my understanding, there wasn't money set aside for the playground.
Mhm.
This is his attempt to get that playground project done. Also enhance the one that's on the east side, south side,
South side.
north side of the campus, east side, south side, on the other side of the campus. And it also would be something that would be used by the community, the rec center for activities too.
And so then you bring up another point, because then we have our facility management rental forms, right? And so what does this look like when the rec district, do they really, are they booking things at that site?
If they reserve it, then they'd fall within that scheduling, the contractual scheduling.
But see, this doesn't say they go through the building leader or through even, but I know that there's detailed documents that happen. I just want to know that that's the process happening here. Like the rec center isn't just going to schedule things there when maybe Lorraine already has something scheduled for
Oh,
the
right,
school,
yeah,
right?
that's, and they wouldn't, if they wanted to have exclusive rights to a part of the school buildings, any one of our buildings, they'd have to reserve that, just like anybody would want to do, like the alumni association is going to do. But mom and dad can take their kid to the swing set and they can swing without it reserved because they're just there
Right.
to play.
I have a suggestion for a question. One question for Mitch would be, if we approve this, put our names on it, and he wasn't able to secure the funding, what happens to the grant?
It's our financial responsibility.
Okay,
It says right there, yes, our financial responsibility.
and it wouldn't be something that we could just easily say, take it back? Because it sounds like a lot of those other details, I have to probably figure out later.
That's
Well,
a
what-
great question.
Yeah, what I do know is that we have a long list of capital needs within our district that we have somewhat prioritized between us as a board and Long Range is working on it. And this isn't even on the list, but we're signing up for a long-term maintenance and management of an enhancement that I think that if there was a facility there will be needed.
Yeah.
And, if the timing were different, then I would be more receptive to it. But right now, we've got a contract situation that isn't playing out yet with the same entity. But I'm not sure, and it comes back to the polling too, how much does early education really mean to people? And does the rest of the county want to see us expend our maintenance and liability and all of that on a thing that we didn't even want or need?
How much maintenance would we potentially anticipate with this?
Well, that's just it. We don't know the details of what's incorporated here. Usually you get a list, an OEM list of everything that's included in the project and the what that bench is made out of, or what the fence is made out of, or what the walkway is made out of. From what I'm saying, there's a lot of sand and mulch, some of those other things, but those will be yearly maintenance. But also, what's the life expectancy of the components of the set itself? Because we're going to be responsible for keeping it safe, which means responsible for replacing when it comes down to it, or closing it down.
I think the biggest part of the maintenance is going to be shoveling when the weatherfall happens, because when the kids go outside, they use their trikes and things to do the tracks and everything like that, and access the equipment. And for them, with their limited mobility, it's going to be more challenging. So we need to make sure things are prepared for them to be safe outside, which you're concerned about.
Well, the south part, they say that they're going to maintain, but again, that entity doesn't exist in our world yet.
Right.
It does seem a little backwards.
It seems a little backwards. We've got to figure out how to get them more funding so we don't have to do this. But for right now, you know, I think even if I had all of the answers to my questions, I still maybe would not be comfortable with it just because of the timing of things. I don't want to end up with an asset that we may not be using.
Yeah, I don't know if we install it before though, because it
says construction this summer would start.
I think it's just acquisition of the grant.
No, in the letter it says construction. And that's where it piqued my interest on the timing.
implementation is anticipated summer of 26.
That's where I went, whoa.
Subject to grant timing and procurements
Right.
sequencing. So that's a question. So does the board want me to have Mitch come in and answer the questions? Do you want for me to let him say that we ask that he put it on hold until the next funding cycle?
What if we just had Carrie Ann asking the questions?
I mean, I can do that. I can share the questions I've already drafted with you guys and see if there are any additional ones that we can ask.
I think we ask the questions and then see if it makes sense, because right now, whether the questions are answered or not, it's still backwards. It's still creating a space for a space that doesn't exist yet.
Maybe there's some sort of reasoning behind it. that we
Yeah,
don't
so
understand.
let's ask and see what he says, and maybe he has some good
Right?
reasoning.
Scheduling for
Yeah, let's
three of us to sit
schedule.
down, 4 of us, Aaron two,
Yeah, let's think
Maybe
here,
Rachel.
please. No.
4 of us. All right.
All right, I forgot I was running this thing. Policies GBK and GBKR, this was,
So at the last board meeting, Nicole asked us to look at how we can address staff concerns regarding work policies that are currently in place to address things that were brought up during, I guess you're listening to our schools about concerns about how we deal, in this case, with grievances. And so I'm presenting that to you, the information that's outlined in those, the purpose for doing this work is to ensure clarity and alignment between policy and administrative regulations, confirming that the timelines and procedure steps remain practical and legally sound. Review board level involvement and expectations and determine whether revisions are needed to improve transparency, efficiency, and consistency. And so we have two documents, so they aside. So this is a conversation that we can have in depth here, or if you want to have a separate conversation to dive into it. So I'll let you dive in.
Yeah, no, I would just wanted to bring it up because the CBA that was in place had a little bit more of an extensive grievance policy. We took that away, so I just wanted to ensure that there was nothing missing from here. I know in GBKR, step 3 mentions a hearing. I didn't know if we needed to clarify that or if we're comfortable with how the wording is. And if there should be a difference between just an individual employee grievance versus if there's several employees. Those were kind of the concerns I had seen. My biggest concern is that we took something away. I just wanted to make sure what we had in place was solid so that we didn't have a problem. Make sure that our staff felt like they could come to us with any grievances. So I just wanted everyone's eyes on it.
Would you propose that we take the one that's currently in the CBA and
kind of take it.
merge the two of them and put together a proposal for the board to review that combines the two?
Does Does anyone else have an opinion? I'm kind of open to.
I think that's a good idea.
I think so too. Take all the ingredients out of that and then make sure it's in one or the other.
And
It's kind of like
again-
what we're doing with the financial policies.
Yeah.
And again, on multiple times we've invited them, like I would love for them to come and work on it with us so that they feel heard and that it has their things in there that are important to them, you know, that we can come to an agreement, and solve these issues.
Well, and also I think, you know, we had touched on a resolution for meet and confer. And I'm wondering if we shouldn't be doing that alongside some of this beefing up of this policy as well, so that the meet and confer isn't just such a ambiguous, you know, umbrella thing.
That it's a process and that it's a process after this board and if it's working, you know, that
Right,
it's just
so that
not
it-
gonna,
Right, that it just doesn't go poof.
yeah.
Right.
And I would love their input too. I would love to get together and have a working session with them on that as well.
Okay, so what I'll do is, bring some representatives to join me and have a conversation regarding what they want to see in this policy that's in the CBA. And then we'll work together on that and craft that, and then I will, when we're done, present that to you all for review and further feedback, and then I'll go back and if there's any differences than that's presented through that conversation that you will send back, then we can try to figure that out inside and making sure it's, everybody can agree upon.
Can we
Sounds
start
good.
the
Major
resolution too?
Yeah.
Make sure we're hearing everyone, and that was my big concern, so.
The resolution, the meet and confer resolution. Remember when Brent,
Mhm.
yeah, I think we're ready to
To start
start
that?
chewing that.
Okay,
Yeah, and that, because I think with them having something in writing, because there is that feeling that we're just saying meet and confer, and then it could just go away,
sure.
right? And this is something that sets it, you know, in our policy stones, as it were,
Yeah, some districts have been convert inside their board policy.
right?
Okay.
Does everybody agree with that?
I do.
Yes.
Jessica?
I would just keep in mind that meet and confer is going to be a process and we're going to learn a lot. So recognize that we'll be back visiting it again
Sure.
on what worked, what didn't, how do we do it better moving forward. But yeah, I want something in place so that all of our employees know that we appreciate them. We recognize how important they are to this whole process that is teaching our kids. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate what you said about the meet and confer, because it'll be interesting to see if staff feel that it should be in the spring or it could be in the fall. So see what that would look like too.
Do I have the copy of the agenda that's most updated? We're doing access policy.
I think we just removed the MOU.
Okay. Sure.
Oh.
That's where I was confused.
My bad.
And I didn't, yeah, okay. So I read the MOU and I think the MOU is fine, and I think from the district perspective, we're okay, but then I came to the conclusion that, oh, wait, we rent Georgetown's building in Georgetown. And we need to maybe ask them a couple of questions about that, as well as, you know, how do we, because essentially what this is saying is that if the sheriff's department, what it's not saying, but what it means is that if the sheriff's department loses one of the keys, the school district will replace that door lock, rekey the door, right, rekey the building, and reissue keys to everybody. And Aaron has reported that it would cost about
$2,000.
$2,000 per building for that effort. So, you know, from my perspective, with what we've got going on and the protection that they're giving us, and, you know, just the partnership too, and the efforts that they're taking to ensure that the keys won't get lost. The keys are gonna be a part of their car key that is tracked. And so even when if a deputy leaves their department, they have to turn those keys in or they end up paying for those keys too. So I felt a lot more, but if they get lost, they're lost, right? And that happens, sometimes it happens. But they just have a better mechanism for tracking than we were comfortable with last year when they were talking to us about it. They're like, oh, they're in their pockets, they're in their glove compartments, or, all of the things. So they've cinched up all the security on that. But I think the only piece that we need to work on here is the implementation of GCS.
So I will circle back with Samantha and her team, and we'll talk to the sheriff's department, probably bring you back into the conversation. They're different locking system than we have at our other schools, and so I don't know what the impact would be on them, but the sheriff's department is their law enforcement.
Right.
So we need to get them on board because they would be impacted by our agreement with the sheriff's department.
I think I saw a meeting invite to discuss that, and Lori sent me one.
She's so good.
They're like, whoa, what's going on? Okay,
Thank you.
do you guys have any questions about the access control or any of that? Okay. So, guess what's next?
I move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Pierce,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lynch, McHugh,
Yes.
North,
It's muted.
Wave here.
Yes.
Oh, that was the best interview ever.